When the game gets rough and this life just seems so tough, make we talk, my people, make we talk. When this town becomes an ugly place, don't let it erase the smile from your face. Make we talk, people, make we talk. Conversation is the key, a guiding light for you and me. Spark a talk and you will see. Conflict solver A to Z. World leaders master the art of self-defense just by talk. So people, make we talk. Hey, we're living in a world that honors.
Good night, everyone. Good night, everyone. Welcome to a special edition of the Make We Talk program. This evening, we're going to speak about healthcare sector fail. Former People's National Party Deputy Mayor of St. Thomas. We're going to bring that on in a couple of minutes. But I have something to show you, the listening and viewing public, on the Make We Talk Jeffrey Tavares YouTube channel. Remember to go to YouTube and type in the search engine Make We Talk Jeffrey Tavares YouTube channel. And like, share, and subscribe. Before I bring up Mrs. Bryan, the wife of the former deputy mayor, there are some videos I have to show you coming out of Kingston, Jamaica. And the protest is going on. The first one I'm going to show you, people have stranded right now this evening in downtown Kingston.
Don't be afraid to take it here. Watch me. Let me know this. Some people might be afraid to take it down, but let me tell you something. All politicians come here.
No, boss. No, boss. Not bad. My God, must stop. Whoa. As my man, people don't know.
5-6.
That is what is going on right now in the capital city of Jamaica, Kingston. But something that was brought to my attention this afternoon, that members of the security forces believe that they are the one who is put there, or the button that they give to them is to beat the taxpayers of this country. There's a video I have to show you before I bring in my guests onto the program here, but I have to show you this. The nation is in crisis, you know. Because when policemen and women believe that they can take out their baton and beat citizens of this country, you know, there's something fundamentally wrong with the government of this country. Look at this video for me. When this policeman believe that he's Mr. Bull Duppy and Duppy Conqueror, and all when his superiors are talking to him, this is what he did. And you will not see the Minister of National Insecurity, Dr. Harris Chang, or the twiddly dum-dum Commissioner of Police that they have now, come out and say anything about this. But look at this other video of the same policeman, even when his superior is pulling him away. Listen, look at this video with the same policeman. Telling a group of taxi men saying, coming back and we can shoot them. This is the Jamaica we're living in. This is the country that Jamaicans are paying taxes for. This is the country that Andrew Michael Holness and Dr. Harris Chang and Mrs. Holness is governing. A dictatorial state of a Xi Jinping and a Vladimir Putin, Russia and China. And we, the Jamaican people, must just sit down and accept what is going on in this country. I tell you something, you know. I keep on singing this song on this program. I don't think I'm joking. I do not know why I'm singing this song. What a whole situation, weeping and wailing. Weeping and wailing shall go on in this country. The Prime Minister of Jamaica, Michael Andrew Holness, believe that he's a dictator for this country. A Jamaican citizen said something that the pay must go and suck you know where and all kind of something. That is his expression. Freedom of speech. The police in Freeport in Montego Bay lock up a taxi driver because the taxi driver said it. There's no freedom of speech in this country anymore. Because Jamaica is run by a dictator and his wife. I've never gone down that road with nobody, you know. I never want to go down that road. But today makes me think and makes me believe that this country of ours is run by a dictator. This country of ours is run by a dictator. Whether we want to believe it, yes or no, what is going on in this country. We're going to go over to our program. We have two guests in line on the program here waiting on us. The wife of the late deputy mayor of St. Thomas, rather, not Montego Bay. What's wrong with you this evening, Jeffrey? Of St. Thomas. He passed away because he didn't get the proper health care he's supposed to get in St. Thomas. I want to introduce to you the wife of the deputy mayor of Morant Bay, the former deputy mayor of Morant Bay, Mayor Bryan. This is Mrs. Bryan. Mrs. Bryan, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Good evening to your listening, viewing audience. Thank you for having me on the program.
I have with me, but like him gone somewhere now in dark like a midnight. I have with me my good friend, the Reverend Marcel Clarke, the chairman of the crime. Clarke, why you hiding your face, man?
No, I'm trying to come out of the noise. So I kind of went into a vehicle because I'm on the road.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so let me
start with Mrs. Bryan. Mrs. Bryan,
yeah, go ahead.
Talk to me. What happened to your husband?
Well, I'm going to try to give you a synopsis of the 2-day event.
Yes.
He passed out at home on the afternoon of the 28th of April. And his friends took him to the Princess Margaret Hospital in Morant Bay.
Mm-hmm.
He was admitted a little bit after 4 p.m. And he was there on Monday. They did chest x-ray because he had a cut over his eye, the left eye, from the fall. He had fainted at home.
Mm-hmm.
Monday evening, they suspected a pulmonary embolism, which is a blood clot in the lungs.
Because of the fall?
No, because of the symptoms.
Okay.
The fall was because of the symptoms, the dizziness, profuse sweating, feeling a sharp chest pain, difficulty breathing. So after they examined him and took the medical history, they suspected a pulmonary embolism.
My
So
lord.
yes, so they they ordered a CAT scan, sent him to Apex in Kingston for the scan because the Princess Margaret Hospital doesn't have the facility. They don't have a lab to do such a scan.
Who took him to Apex?
He went in his own private vehicle. He was driven by a family member. As explained to me on the 20th of May when I met with Dr. Whittle and his staff from the Princess Margaret Hospital, they explained that this was an option for any patient who could not wait for an ambulance because the hospital cannot guarantee when an ambulance would be available.
Hold on there for me. Hold on there, Mrs. Bryan. The doctor who is in charge of the hospital
Dr.
told
Dwight.
you that it's an option because
Yes.
they do not know when an ambulance is going to come there because the Princess Margaret Hospital in St. Thomas do not have an ambulance.
No, that's not correct. They actually have 2 ambulances.
Oh,
Based on patient needs on any given day, there may be 8 patients, maybe 10 patients, but based on patients' need, they only have 2 ambulances. So they basically have to prioritize the patient who is going to get transported in an ambulance.
so what I want to find out, when a person has an aneurysm, is not a very dangerous thing to have?
Well, it's a pulmonary embolism. So,
Yes, pulmonary embolism, yes.
yes.
I am no medical person, but I personally think that is very serious.
It is very serious. It is a life-threatening condition. It requires urgent attention. But they suspected. I guess they did not think it was urgent enough. I don't know what their thought process was. But clearly, they didn't think it was urgent enough to warrant the ambulance service or sourcing an ambulance from another hospital, another area. Clearly they didn't see it as urgent. They weren't treating it as urgent.
So, okay. So they allow former deputy mayor to take his own vehicle with a family friend or family member and drive to Apex in Kingston. Go ahead and tell me some more, ma'am.
Okay, correct. So he was driven to Apex. Apex did the scan, which was a CAT scan of the lungs. He came back to the hospital. He arrived back about 4:45 p.m. He was back in the ward. I spoke with him at 8:18 p.m. and at that time, he had not seen a doctor or a nurse or anybody since returning from Apex. Nobody had read the report. I spoke.
Repeat yourself, because what's in my ears? I'm not hear about Mrs. Bryan.
Well, again, he came back from Apex at 4:45. He was back on the ward. And at 8:18 p.m., when I spoke with him on the telephone, he had not been seen by a doctor. Nobody had read the report.
So no doctor, no nurse, no said to him, say, all right, you come back, I can see the report.
Nobody said nothing to him about that report.
Continue some more. Let me hear some more, ma'am.
At 9:43 p.m., I spoke with him again. And I said, what the doctor said about the report? He said, Jazzy, up to now, no doctor, no nurse, nobody no look on the report.
Hold on, let me write down something. Hold on, because Hold on a second. What time at the first call to your husband, Mrs. Bryan?
At 8:18 p.m. was the
At
first time
8:18 p.m.
p.m.
in the evening.
in the evening.
Nobody not see him. And he came back to Princess Margaret Hospital at 4 something.
4:45 p.m.
4:45. That's 15 minutes to 5 o'clock.
Yes.
You spoke to him at 8:18 p.m. to find
Yes.
out if anybody come and speak to him about the report that he got.
Because he went and he did a scan. So there is a report that tells you the findings of the scan.
All right. Nobody come and talk to him at 8:18 p.m.
And
Talk again. And you call him back at what time again?
9:43 p.m.
9:43, nearly 15 minutes to 10.
Yes. And
What did he say to you, What did he say, Mr. Bryan?
nobody, no doctor, no nurse, nobody had looked at that report. Nobody said anything to him about the report. He had not seen a doctor from he came back at 4:45 p.m. and was admitted back in the hospital. No doctor or nurse had seen him, looked at the report that was available.
But Almighty God in him. So tell me something now. Not you. Me saying it to myself. Assume Clarke come in. You are telling me that in 21st century Jamaica, I wonder if some people in the diaspora who keep on saying that we're bringing down brand Jamaica, a Wilfred Rattigan and a Jeffrey Tavares and a this and a that and the devils know what. I wonder if these people realize that what is happening in Jamaica is something that people is going through. Mrs. Bryan, her husband is a former deputy mayor, the late deputy mayor, because them kill him. Jeffrey behave himself this evening. The late deputy mayor, they told him that they don't have any, the ambulance can't take him because it's on priority or whatever. So they said, okay. He said, okay, I'll go down there. He went down there at Apex. He came back at 4:45. Mrs. Bryan called her husband from overseas at 8:18 p.m. No doctor, no nurse, no porter, nobody. All the people who cook food, not see him all now.
That is correct.
At 9:43 p.m. in the evening, in the night,
Still,
you call back your husband, and he told you nobody has seen him all now.
nobody had seen him up to 9:43 p.m. I said to him, that is madness. That is madness. Because a pulmonary embolism is a life-threatening condition requiring urgent attention. That report should have been read the minute it was available. He died at 10:25 p.m. and the report still had not been read. How I know this? Because when the doctors came out to tell the family he had passed, they said an autopsy would be required to determine cause of death. The next morning.
Hold on, Mrs. Bryan, hold on a minute. Dear God Almighty, look down from him upon this nation of ours. Hey! Your husband went to the Princess Margaret Hospital in Morant Bay, Jamaica, St. Thomas, where Paul Bogle lead the rebellion. He went to see a doctor. He went to see the people them there, the doctor and nurses. They said to him, say, listen to me. You have to go down to Apex to get a CT scan done because they don't have it up there. Yet, Dr. Christopher Tufton, Jeffrey Beaverself, Dr. Christopher Tufton is saying that we have one of the best healthcare services in this country. Hold on. Your husband went down there and came back at, what time he came back?
4:45 p.m.
He came back at 4:45 p.m. to the hospital. At 8:18 p.m., you make a call to your husband. He said nobody haven't seen him. At 9:43 p.m., you make a next call to your husband. No doctor, no nurse, nobody haven't seen him. At the Princess Margaret Hospital in St. Thomas. And you're telling me tonight here that your husband died at what time again, ma'am?
10:25 p.m. from a pulmonary embolism.
You have a good liar?
I need to get one.
No get no dibby liar who no get sell out by them, you know. This is total nonsense.
It is egregious, gross negligence. It is horrible. And the worst part of it, there are so many horror stories from other people who have had same kind of experience, indifference, uncaring attitude from the hospital staff.
Tell me some more, ma'am. So after they tell you or tell your family member that he died at 10:25, what happened after?
They said an autopsy would be needed to determine the cause of death. And we're there to tell them which funeral home the body should be released to. That was the night. The next morning, when the family went out there, they said, an autopsy will not be needed. We've looked at the report and it shows a pulmonary embolism. The same report that was available.
Hold on. Lord Jesus Christ, look down from heaven, power. Hold on there, Mrs. Bryan. What you're saying to me, that when your family member went back to the Princess Margaret Hospital in St. Thomas, the doctors and nurses are saying to you that they have read the report now, after your husband dead the night before, you know. They have read the report now and no autopsy is needed?
Correct. That's exactly what they said. They have now read the report. Autopsy not required because the report shows a pulmonary embolism. The same reason they sent them for the scan. The same report that was available for several hours before he died. The same report that they failed to look at. They couldn't be bothered. They couldn't care. That same report they look at after he died and say, you don't need an autopsy. It tells us why he died.
In which modern democracy can these nonsense continue to happen and nothing is being done? Sir Clarke, where are you? Come on into this conversation here now.
I'm here, Jeffrey. I'm here. Oh God, it's happening in Eastern Jamaica in the 21st century. It's happening in Eastern Jamaica. So, yes, it's happening still. This is not the only story. There are numerous other horror stories that are circulating. If you come and do a survey of the parish, you will hear it. Persons can tell the experiences. My mother-in-law, basically, they over IV'd her. She drowned. And when she died, as you touch her, fluid run all about out her. There's another person, the same scenario where people over IV, persons were ignored, were not looked at in the emergency, then they're right at the emergency room, waiting to be seen. Persons have to go back home and die. My mother was released with a stroke and having mild heart attacks. Is when I took her home and I realized that she wasn't moving how she ought to move. One of her legs, she had a leg ulcer on it for a couple of years. But the good leg, she was dragging, which she never had a problem with. And then is when I started to really look at her and I started to ask certain questions. I realized that she was having she was in a, she had a stroke, I should say. She wasn't having one. And I had to turn right back to the hospital. And I can tell you numerous other stories. My vehicle is like a ambulance to the Princess Margaret Hospital through the years. And 90% of who you take, they never come back out. You know, most of who come back out is who go there if you have a baby. You know, and I can tell you horror stories from the first contact persons, which would be the porters, the attitude or the nonchalant response when you go there. Them tend to want to argue with you and I try to get you to park a specific way or line up a specific way. When in an emergency, every second counts. That's how I know emergencies are handled. They want things a particular way and they don't move with any ace, they just drag. That's the kind of response when you go there. So when
We,
you go there, people get upset. People are there for long hours. You know what is sad though, Jeffrey. Let me give you this piece of information.
yes.
Um, in case of former Deputy Mayor, Councillor Bryan, he had a report that talk about his condition. Did you know that on staff there are 4 paid consultants, paid 24 hours a day on call? So if there was not a doctor there could read the report, they're supposed to call a consultant to read such a report.
And
That
they
was
did
not
not.
done. They did not. And that is what is sad about it. Pers- Persons are getting paid and they are not doing what they're supposed to do. Whether they're so maybe it's a breakdown in communication, they're not being called because them say them asleep, but they're being paid for being on call. That is the sad thing about it. And that is some of the things that needs to be addressed. There's no urgency when it comes to emergencies. There's no urgency to treat people properly. And when you talk about feisty, people feisty out there on staff, attitudes, that kind of thing. And when person go there with their emergencies, they're in a state of mind where they're in a desperate state of mind. I remember one night I took my father there some years ago, and um, a young man was on a stretcher in the emergency. And my father issue was not a emergency per se. He had a dislocated shoulder. And the young man was holding his chest and calling for doctor, doctor. The left side of his chest to be specific. And the doctor just look out there and just continue writing what he was writing. I said, Doc, the man desperate like it's a heart attack. Go deal with him. And when he go out then juke the man in the eye because the man hold on panic because the man basically saw death. And I juke him in the eye. That's the kind of thing how they deal with people
So,
there.
so hold on there for me now. Hold on there for me, Clarke. Sir Clarke. Mrs. Bryan,
Yes, sir.
I am trying to understand something here because honestly, me can't come to. Your husband went back to the Princess Margaret Hospital at 4:45 at 8:18 p.m. For those who are just joining us on the Make We Talk program here, it is now 19 minutes after 8 o'clock, 19 after 7 o'clock in Jamaica. We're speaking to the wife of the late deputy mayor and councillor in the St. Thomas area who died because of negligence at the Princess Margaret Hospital. And many Jamaicans have died that same way because of negligence of the healthcare sector in our country. And not because the deputy mayor why I am highlighting this. I am doing it because it can be any one of us.
Yep.
It can be any one of us. He went down to Apex to get a CT scan done. He got the CT scan, came back to the hospital at 4:45 p.m. At 8:18 p.m., his wife called him, Mrs. Bryan right there, called her darling husband. Her husband turned and said to her, I have not seen a doctor or a nurse all now. She called back at 9:43 p.m. Her husband said to her, sweetheart, I haven't seen a doctor or nurse all now. And at 10:25 p.m., the doctors at the Princess Margaret Hospital and nurses gonna come out and tell the family members that Mr. Bryan is dead.
Yep. They pronounced him dead at 10:25. So we know he passed before that because there was no doctor on the compound. They had to call a doctor, wait for him to get there. I guess they tried some resuscitation measures, I don't know, and they pronounced him dead at 10:25. He died when I was on the phone with him, actually. How I know? He screamed my name. And I heard him take 3 big breaths. When he screamed my name, the female hospital personnel in the room said, Mr. Bryan, you need to stay off the phone. Then he take a big gasp for air. And she said, calm down. He took a second big gasp for air again because he's struggling to breathe. And she said, calm down. He took a third big gasp for air. Still struggling to breathe, still unable to breathe. She said, calm down. Then I listened and I listened. And I called his name. I said, Washy, because that's his nickname, Washy. I said, Washy, Washy, babes, you're hearing me? Washy, Washy, can you hear me? Babes, you're hearing me? There was no response. There was no sound from the room. I didn't hear a call for oxygen. I didn't hear a call for a code. I didn't hear any background noises like people running in, trying to rescue, trying to help. I heard nothing. I don't even know if that staff, I don't know if she was a nurse, I don't know what she was, but I don't even know that she knew he was dying. I guess she was being disturbed because she said, calm down. He wasn't agitated. He wasn't irritated. He wasn't angry. He wasn't upset. He was trying to breathe. He was dying. He was struggling to breathe. Her response was, calm down. She didn't go to get oxygen for him. She didn't go to get help. She said, calm down, when he took his last 3 breaths. That was her response. I don't know if she was a nurse. I don't know what's her title. I don't know if she realized he was dying, but he died shortly after that, because that was at 9:43 p.m., maybe 9:48, because I called him at 9:43. So those were his last 3 breaths. Because then they had to call a doctor. Very sad.
Mrs. Bryan, Mrs. Bryan, Mrs. Bryan, I am so sorry that you went through all of this on the phone, and the person that you love, you couldn't even be there to hold his hand.
I couldn't help him. I told him, I said, this is madness. When he told me the report had not been read, I said, this is madness, because I know the situation requires urgent attention. Unacceptable. This is unacceptable for the Jamaican people. You probably know the diaspora abroad. Most people want to retire here in Jamaica. Their number one concern, their number one issue, the one thing, the biggest thing they're afraid of is the healthcare system here. They're not afraid of gunman, they're not afraid of thief, they're afraid of the healthcare system here because it doesn't exist. It's healthcare, Hell care. That's what you get here. There is no health in it. because they didn't even try. I'm not saying he would be here today. I don't know that. But they did not try. That's the problem. The uncaring attitude.
I am lost for words. I am lost for words. It could be a family member of mine, because I have family live in Jamaica. It could be a family member of mine. I have family in St. Thomas. I have friends in St. Thomas. A lot of my families are in Kingston and friends. And you're saying to me this tonight here, you had to come down to bury your husband. That the state of Jamaica, the healthcare sector in our country, you're saying to me that a healthcare worker, a nurse couldn't come over from the scene, come back and went on the ward, come and take the result from him, get in contact with a doctor immediately, and let the doctor read the report. Whatever medicine to be administered unto him, give him the medicine. But they sit there. They sit there. He came back at 4:45 to the Princess Margaret Hospital. Nobody see him. Nobody see him at 5 o'clock. Nobody see him at 6 o'clock. Nobody see him at 7 o'clock. At 8:18 p.m., you called and you spoke to your husband. And he said to you, nobody have seen me. These are some critical information here. At 9:43 p.m., you called back your husband and he turned and said to you, no one have seen him. No doctor, no nurse, and nobody has read the report.
Nobody has read the report. Hadn't seen a doctor, hadn't seen a nurse. Nobody had looked at the report. A report that has information about a situation that requires urgency. It requires urgent action. It requires action. Nobody cared. For many hours he was there. Nobody cared to look at the report. There was no doctor available. Where was the nurse? The nurse's job is to advocate for the patient. A nurse could have, I don't know the protocols here. I don't know if a nurse is able to look at the report, but I know that a nurse is able to call the doctor and say, the patient is here, the report is here. So what do you want me to do? Do I open it? Do I read it? What medication you're ordering? Nurses supposed to advocate for their patients. The nurses know the patients. They spend 8 to 12 hours. That's how long their shifts are. They're spending all that time with the patient. They have a duty to advocate for the patient. I'm not letting the doctors off the hook. I don't know where they are and what they're doing. But if there's no doctor available, there must be a nurse available. And her job is to advocate for the patient. There is a problem here with this communication channel at the Princess Margaret Hospital.
Who is the doctor that spoke to you? Who is the doctor that came out and tell your family member that your husband is dead?
I don't know who told the family member that he had passed, but my meeting was with Dr. Dwight Whittle. He is the senior medical officer at the hospital. I met
Dr. Dwight Whittle.
Yes.
Dr. Whittle and the Princess Margaret Hospital have some serious answers to answer to the family. And not to mention other Jamaicans who may have passed because of negligence around the country, in the country's hospitals. And
Yes.
because their family members are below crossroad. Nothing has been said and nothing has been done. Is this the country we talk about to live, work, and raise family according to the GG? Is this a family talking about 2030? The country talking about 2030 vision? Is this the country that some so-called doctor in the diaspora is talking about? We are bringing down brand Jamaica? Is this the country? And I am not talking to Mrs. Bryan tonight because her husband is a former member of the People's National Party. I am talking to her tonight because he is a Jamaican citizen. And this has been going on in this country for far too long. You have some Jamaicans who don't have the guts to come on my program and speak about what is going on within their own family because the family member's dead. Dr. Christopher Tufton, you know me. Dr. Christopher Tufton. The Jamaican people need some answers. And not to mention, forget about the Jamaican people. The family members of Mr. Bryan and other Jamaicans would love to know what is really going on in the health sector. How did Mr. Bryan went down to Apex to get a CT scan done? The CT scan was done. The man paid for the CT scan out in one packet and on pay for it. He came back up with the CT scan report. And nobody at the hospital see fit to take the report. A nurse. So there got to be a nurse in charge. There got to be a charge nurse. I work at the hospital in the Cayman Islands for many years. I work at the Chrissy Thomas Memorial Hospital in the Cayman Islands. That hospital is owned by Dr. Steve Anthony Tomlinson. And the nurse in charge, the head nurse, and I can call names, was Nurse Carmen Eloise. She's in charge, and the buck stopped with her. Who was the charge nurse at the hospital? Which nurse was in charge at that time of evening? Those are the questions we need answers for. And why is it that the nurse who was in charge did not see it fit to go and see Mr. Bryan when she's doing the rounds on the ward? Because there has to be some rounds on the ward that they're doing, The handover, handover shift is a certain time. And when he came back, the shift must have been handing over from about 6 o'clock. So when the shift hand over, the person who was in charge of that part of the ward, there must be something there said, look, Tom Jones is in bed 1, Aunt Mary in bed 2, Uncle Joe in bed 4, and you go around and say, okay, that forget saline, that forget this and that forget that, and Mr. Bryan came back, he has a report for us to read. There must be something like that. Don't come and tell the people of this country that he was only in there was no, he wasn't admitted there. Don't come and tell us that. Because no Sankey no sing so. That's nonsense. You, the person who was on duty that night, whatever nurse was on duty, whatever doctor was on duty, the buck stopped with you people. The buck stop with you people. It cannot be. I'm the Minister of Health. It cannot be that the people of this country, we're 62 years old, and we can't get a thing as proper health care in this country. Mrs. Bryan. So when you met with the doctor, what the doctor said to you? If you can't go in certain details, as I said to you before, you can say, Jeffrey, let's not go into let's not go on that road. But what he can speak about, please tell me.
Well, not too much, because all they're saying is they're investigating.
Investigating what?
The hospital is investigating. Sarah is investigating. And the Ministry of Health is investigating. They're investigating the circumstances around my husband's death. So they couldn't answer any of my questions because they have to wait for the outcome of the investigation. And they're supposed to be getting back to me with that information. Now, my question to him, well, I had family with me. So the question we posed was, how do you investigate yourself objectively?
Wow, that's a good question.
If your child, Jeffrey, does something wrong, you don't like it, you're disappointed, you're unhappy, you're dissatisfied, you're going to scold your child. You're going to air the dirty laundry? Are you going to put it out there for the world to know how your child failed you or what the child did?
No.
Okay, then. So that is my question regarding this investigation. What I need to know is there an independent body in Jamaica that handles investigations of this nature? Because I can't see the hospital investigating itself objectively. Yes, they might find gaps and they might fix those gaps, but are they going to come out with the whole truth, the plain truth, and nothing but the truth?
Do you know who is the chairman for the hospital?
Marcel? No. I've heard the name, but honestly, I don't recall. Can't recall at this time.
Mrs. Williams, Mrs. Williams, Mrs. Bryan, do not let this go under the carpet.
I will
because
not.
I have a tendency of sweeping things under the carpet in this country, you know? Especially with the Ministry of Health. You ask them, go ahead.
I will not. I mean, there's nothing is going to bring my husband back. I recognize that. But the number of persons who have come to me just by moving around in the streets, because my husband was very popular, very, very well loved. And there are so many horror stories about the Princess Margaret Hospital. The nickname is actually Princess Morgue.
Princess who?
Morgue.
Dear God.
That's the nickname for the hospital. Princess Morgue. So that in of itself should tell you how the community feels about the institution, the one and only hospital they have in the parish to go to. They don't go there unless they have no other choice. But the number of people who have come to me and expressed their commendation, they're like, yes, we need somebody to champion this because it's been happening for far too long.
Dear God.
So no, I'm not gonna drop this. I'm not letting it go. We need some real change here where there's accountability. That's number one. There has to be accountability. There has to be oversight at the hospital. Who is responsible? Who makes sure there are checks and balances in place? Who measures those things and makes sure that they're happening? And if they're not happening, corrective actions taken. What are the standard operating procedures for a situation like this? You have an urgent situation, and for hours, nobody looks at the report until the patient dies. That cannot
I
be.
better say, if it was the Minister of Health, one man lick him off a bicycle, you know. And I don't know if it was the University of West Indies Hospital he was in, or was he at Tony Thwaite's wing? I don't know where he was. But they find a bed and give him.
Immediately.
Immediately find one bed, give him.
For a broken wrist.
For a broken wrist. And I better say they do x-ray on the wrist. And immediately they read the x-ray. Because he's the Minister of Health, you know. He's the boss. We have to make sure it's okay. But the taxpayers of this country who paying both him and the people them not get the help.
That is sad. That is sad. Because the healthcare should be there for everybody. Everybody should get the best healthcare based on their needs. We all need to get the healthcare that the minister get. You get liquor for your bicycle, you get a broke wrist, and you get a bed in a hospital. People are sick and dying on benches.
You know, I have never, I have programs like these before, and I've never, in the sense that I lost for words that I can't even say anything to you. And one of the reasons why I lost for words is because I keep on repeating myself, and I have to do it. Your husband went to Apex, came back at Princess Margaret Hospital at 4:45 p.m. At 8:18 p.m., you make a call to your husband. And your husband turn and say to you, no doctor have seen me or any nurse have seen me, and no one has read the report that I bring back from Apex. At 9:43 p.m., you spoke back to your husband, and he turned and said to you, babes, no doctor or nurse have come to see me, much as to read the report that I brought back from Apex. At 10:25 p.m., one nurse or one doctor no come consider the family that we are sorry, but your husband has passed. Your family member has passed. The next day, your family members went back to the hospital because they told them the night before that they have to do what do you call it again?
Autopsy.
An autopsy.
Post-mortem, as they say.
Right, post-mortem. Autopsy, yes. Then the next morning, your family member came back. They're going to turn to the family member and say, oh no, you don't do the autopsy anymore because we just read the report that came from Apex. The report came from Apex at 4:45 p.m. in the afternoon. The patient bring back the report to the Princess Margaret Hospital at 4:45 in the afternoon. And my God Almighty, no doctor nor no nurse did not see the man. And you're going to tell the members of the family the next morning after he passed, after your negligence, that you have already reports that, you know, no autopsy should be done. The center cannot hold. The late Wilmot Perkins always said this, you know. The center cannot hold Miranaki upon the land. Is this the health sector that the people of Jamaica put in Michael Andrew Holness for? Is this the health sector the people of Jamaica vote in these people for? They spend billions and billions of dollars to run election, but they can't use billions and billions of dollars to upgrade our health facilities in this country. They pump how much billions of dollars into JUTC, the state-owned bus company that is running to a wreck. It don't make any profit. And while our citizens of this country don't have a proper healthcare system, when a country can't provide healthcare, security, education, job, healthcare, security, education, job, something is fundamentally wrong with the governing of this country. I bet you any money it was any member of the high up of society, it was any member of the Vum Vavon, the Vum Vavi that have big names in this country. Then I read the report long time. Although your husband have served this country, ma'am, the country has failed your husband. And if you have a ball, man, ball on the program, if you have a ball, I don't suffer from crying. Because I know how you feel. There's an utter disgrace in this country. It is an utter disgrace that people have served this country well, and the Jamaican people can't get proper health care in this country. It's a one that they never fly out Christopher Tough Tang. Break and risk figure Miami. But then find the pin from the pin up back in hand. Because if a normal Jamaican citizen go to the hospital with a broken leg or a broken hip, you have to go outside, go buy the pin and go buy the this and go buy the that to pin up the hip. Because the hospital don't have it. This is an utter disgrace, man. How on earth can you expect the people of this country to survive? And you have some people who believe that what we are doing, we're bringing down brand Jamaica. So we must speak about what is going on in the country because everything is good. There's no problem in Jamaica. There's prosperity going on in the country. From 1962 until now, it's pure prosperity. On both sides of the fence.
No, nobody believes that. I mean, the people who live abroad are afraid. I have houses here. They have built houses and retirement places, and they're retired. And where are they? They might come for a week or two, but they are afraid, deathly afraid to move back home because of the health care. Nobody wants to be here because of the health care, because they have experiences with these kinds of situations where family members die without getting attention. That's the problem. No attention, the lack of attention, the lack of care, and the attitude of the care providers. Doctors and nurses need to get back to the business of saving lives. That's what they're supposed to do.
I get to understand, Mrs. Bryan, that majority of the doctors and nurses in this country of Jamaica, they have business elsewhere. They have X-ray company all over the country. So when you go to the hospital, then we say the X-ray machine now work when nothing goes up. And you must go down to Aunt Mary business place down there, so. And you pay $40 million to do an X-ray. You know what pocket they going to? The same doctor who you see. Who did the right in writing everything, you know, did the right. Oh, the CT scan not working, you know. But I'm gonna send it down to Mass Joe down a halfway tree for Hagley Park Road. And he write that he go down there. And you must find the poor Jamaican woman who lived on a crossroad must find $27,000 to go down a Mass Joe business place. To get an x-ray done. When the business place is owned by the same doctor who Mass Joe say at the public health center, at the public hospital. That's what is going on in the country. The nepotism and cronyism. Was there an autopsy done on your husband though? Did you do one?
I can't discuss that information.
Okay, good. No problem. No problem. But I am saying to you tonight though, that I pray and hope you get a very good lawyer. No licky and nyami lawyer. I have some of them out there licky and nyami. And take your money for nothing. Get a good lawyer who is not afraid of the government of Jamaica. And pursue this case. This is negligence to the highest level. And every time you hear throne speech, give a parliament by the GG. And my fellow Jamaicans, those of home and abroad come back home because this is a country to work and raise family and live. Work and raise family and live where? Number one, this country is run by a dictator. I'm afraid to say it. There's a dictatorship going on in this country. Number two, the level of corruption and nepotism and cronyism in this country is unbelievable. Every single government entity is corrupt in this country. The permanent secretaries must be investigated because they corrupt more than anything else. And the question that you ask them is a very good question. How can they be investigating themselves? They come and say to you that they're going to Sarah they investigate, Princess Margaret they investigate, Christopher Tufton they investigate. The Prime Minister soon come and say him to investigate too. Don't believe what him said though, because him lie like when lie right, he's take away. Mrs. Bryan, I am so sad. I grieve with you tonight.
Thank you, sir.
I grieve with you because honestly, I talk to my good friend Clarke a lot. By the way, people, we have the great-great-grandson of Paul Bogle on the program here tonight, but he can't talk because he's driving.
I can talk, you know, Jeffrey.
Go ahead, the rebellion of no lead. Go ahead.
Well, you know, a process has started already. The very next day after the funeral of the late former deputy mayor, yes, there was a peaceful demonstration at the Princess Margaret Hospital, right at the bus stop on the outside. And, you know, it was going on real nice. Persons from different areas were there. Family members, and what struck me strange that there were two elderly persons that were in the midst. One actually had to be sitting on a chair that spent the time to come out for such an occasion. And while it was being, they were peacefully demonstrating, all of a sudden we see a barrage of police drive up. I was there, and they came out with long guns and bulletproof vests, and some were armoring themselves and all kind of stuff. And they started to talk about silent zone. So the former mayor was telling us, listen, the vehicle that are passing is making more noise than the persons that are demonstrating. And in fact, they were at the farthest end away from where the emergency would be, much as the wards. So there couldn't have been any disturbance to anything that was happening. And they tried whatever their hardest best to stop it. Um, at one point I went to one of them, I think probably was in second in command. And I said, let me leave you with a question. And I asked him, I said, have you ever had an emergency before? Or any of your family members ever had an emergency before? And he paused and him say, yes, many times. I said, then this is what this is about. For when a person have an emergency, that when they come here, they get proper health care. They are responded to in a in a in a in a proper time, and that they get proper health care. That is what we are here about, nothing else. And him started to say, so who are you? I said, that is not of the importance at this point. What is important is what we are here about. And I walked away and left him. And I happened to glance back about 2 minutes after. And you know, when you use a pin and stick a balloon,
Mm-hmm.
him drop on the vehicle that he came in and basically had a slightly bent knee. And like what I asked him hit him because he is a person that has a serious medical condition that has to visit the pharmacy very regular. And he has had to go there for an emergency more than one time. And I left sometime after that. I don't know what happened after, but I realized from footage that the demonstration was allowed to continue to a certain point.
You know what
But
I don't understand, Sir Clarke? What I don't understand in this country is it? Anytime the Jamaican people decide to do a peaceful demonstration, the hierarchy of the JCF send out these fly-by-night, pitch-by-day police men and women who believe that they are bull duppy and duppy conqueror, that them not got through nothing in this country, and they come up with a bulletproof vests and the gun and the this and the that. And they believe that they can continue doing the Jamaican people that. The police they don't realize that they are human beings too.
A waste and a misuse of resources.
You're saying to me that somewhere in our constitution of Jamaica, that the Jamaican people, and I will not apologize to neither he, she, nor the old lady. I apologize to no one. The Jamaican constitution states that the Jamaican people have a right for a peaceful assembly and freedom of speech. It's in the constitution.
Jeffrey, you know what is sad? The very staff that told Mr. Bryan to calm down don't realize that they too could be a patient at such an institution.
No man.
And
Them are iron man, and iron woman, and superman and superwoman.
I have seen many staff members that are onward that meet the same treatment and is even ignored. I've seen it myself. And they don't realize they as nurses and doctors and all of that could be a patient there. And they should treat people according to how they would want to be treated. And that's the sad truth about it. They need to realize that, they too can be a patient. It can be not just a simple accident and you have to go there. So why not treat people in a humane manner where people get the proper care? I've seen countries with less resources save more lives than with a hospital that is there that most people go there don't come out. They come out in our earth. And that is sad. Very sad, Jeffrey.
You know, ay, Jesus, have his mercy, dear God Almighty. My heart bleed for my country every day. Mrs. Bryan, my heart bleed for my fellow Jamaicans who can't afford certain things in our country. If your husband didn't have you, or have people who know him well, if it was Aunt Mary or other Jamaicans who live below Crossroad, this would never be highlighted because they are so afraid to say stuff. They're so afraid to come out in the public and speak. No Jamaican, no human being on the face of God earth should die the way how a lot of our Jamaicans have passed away. None. No Jamaican, no wife, no husband should have to listen to their loved one gap for breath in a country where they say that it's prosperity time. Is this the country that Mr. Holness keep on bragging about? You know something, Mr. Clarke?
Yeah.
Honestly, I see Mrs. Bryan a bit tear up right now because, you know, and honestly, I'm not a person who is emotional of such. But honestly, I feel it for you.
Jeffrey, let me
Go
just
ahead.
say something.
Go ahead, my friend.
Mrs. Bryan, on behalf of the people of St. Thomas, I really want to express our sincere thanks for sharing your husband with us for the many years he sat as a councillor. And we really appreciate him. Many may not say it, but he was very loved. And you know that and you see it. He was very loved because, Jeffrey, to tell the truth, if you knew the man, you'd probably be more angry than you are right now. If you knew him as a person, if you knew him as a counselor, he never saw color. He treated people equally. Him said, listen, don't come to me no politics. If you have a problem, talk to me. Me see what me can do. You understand me? And oftentimes he's going to do something. It may not be on time, but he's going to do something. Sometimes he take him personal money. Him sometimes give away till him have none. You understand me? And his family has allowed him to share with the community and the parish and in a meaningful way. I mean, significant contribution. You will just hear stories of people him just call him see them have a need, him just call them and give them money. Him hear a story, him reach out
Sir
to them.
Clarke,
Mm-hmm.
give me a minute there. Continue talking. Give me 1 minute.
Yeah,
Continue
man.
talking.
You know, he will just give. He's just a giver. He's very kind. He will help from the young, the old, the elderly. Him love children. He would always, every year, Grand Market, him come out in front of him business place, him spend thousands of dollars and buy snow cone machine, popcorn machine, a dog machine, this, that, how much deep freeze, just to use it when him doing treats for the children. So holidays, he would do treats for the children, whether in the park or in front of his business place. Him just give and he give and he give. So to know that somebody like that was on the ward. It's not because I'm a farmer, mayor, or counselor why people upset or why people demonstrate or why um, um, people are disgruntled. It's to know the person that he was. He was kind-hearted and giving. No, he's not perfect. He makes some mistakes in our life. We all do. But the main characteristic of him is that he's a giver, he's caring, and he always trying to help somebody. He help a lot of people. Farm work hard, school, send them picnic go school. Right now I know a lot of children probably struggling now for go to school. Graduation coming up. I wash them want to see. Everybody at home don't wash it. Then reach all in yard, sometimes in Kevin sleeping in bed. Wash it, help me now, wash it this. Sometimes in Kevin hand time for because when him cash flow low, him tend to stay away because he doesn't know how to say no. That's the type of person he is. Him not say no to anything. Once him go find a way, he just give. So to know that the type of person he is, and when you hear his wife recount his last minutes on this earth and the treatment that was meted out to him at the Princess Margaret Hospital, it breaks your heart. I'm gonna tell you something. When you're looking at the crowd that was at the demonstration at JLP and PNP and no P, is young, old, the elderly, the indifferent. When you hear them tell the madman at talk about wash it, boy, then wash it and wash it and wash it. And what we are going to know wash it gone. That's all you're hearing, you know. So if you
Mm.
know that at such a tender age, and I say the man at old age take him out or anything, is a simple. I spoke to a medical doctor when I asked him what's the course of treatment. It's a simple treatment, simple course of medication, you know. And
Mm.
nothing hard to resolve the issue that he was having, you know. And nothing hard. But nobody read the report. Nobody read the report.
Hold on there for me, Clarke. I have somebody else joining me, but before you make the person come on in, Mrs. Bryan, are you gonna be okay? You want to cut the conversation or go? You want to? Okay, thank you for coming on. I'll let you go, and we'll talk off air. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for
Okay.
coming on, and I'll call you.
Okay. Okay.
I'm so sorry. I'll call you. Okay, ma'am. Go
All right,
ahead.
Okay.
Mr. Gordon.
Yes, you're
And
welcome. Thanks.
All right.
nothing but love, all right? Nothing but love.
Okay.
The person who just joined us, could you say who you are, please? Hello, Sir Clarke. There's somebody on the program here. I don't know who this person is.
Oh,
Can
good
you
What,
give?
night, good night. I'm just trying to find my way around this platform. My name is
Oh.
Jennifer.
Okay, I'll bear with you. Try and figure out what you're gonna do and then come back on. Because what you can do, you see, is go
Uh-huh.
out and come on with video and video and an audio.
Well, audience fine. I don't want to be seen right now. I'm not pretty enough.
Okay,
I gotta
then
fix
you're
my
good.
hair, put my
No,
lipstick on.
you're good then. Stay where you are. Who are you, please?
My name is Jennifer Hugh from St. Thomas, Morant
Yes, Miss
Bay.
you.
Yes. So I'm late to the show, but I too had my terrible experience recently at the Princess Margaret Hospital. But
Uh-huh.
I'm not bashing the hospital per se. It's just the experience for the doctors, the irresponsibility, the lack of emotion, and the whole the care. Because I spent a week out there, and I was treated well. People would say it was because it was who I am, but I beg to differ. However, I've had great experiences, but in regards to what happened to Washy, it was very unprofessional and inappropriate because I've had two experiences, in fact, and the hospital seemed to have been getting better, but it's just going one step backward. I had to email and report somebody out there recently. So I am awaiting an audience with the SMO of Princess Margaret.
Dear God in
So I,
heaven.
I, I share sentiments with everybody with what will happen to Washing. Hence the reason I'm here this evening.
Let me ask you a question, caller.
Go ahead.
Yes. Let me ask you a question, caller. I am I am lost for words because I feel it for Mrs. Bryan and her family. Not a goodbye to Mr. Bryan. Not a goodbye. The question I want to ask you though. So if that is going on at the Princess Margaret Hospital, that means that the people of St. Thomas is not getting proper health care then.
Some of us are, some of us aren't. I wouldn't say generally speaking. But there are one-off experiences that would suggest same. And these are my personal experiences too within the last few months, last 2 to 3 months.
Now tell me something now, not you, darling. I mean, let me say it to myself. I have my father. God forbid would have come on to my wife and my father and my mother. Go to a hospital. They say to them at the hospital, like, listen, we don't have any ambulance because the ambulance blah 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 and devils know what. I went down to Apex and I reached back the hospital at 4:45.
Yeah, I'm listening.
My wife called me at 8:18 p.m. And I said to my wife, no one has seen me and no one has read the report.
The same thing happened to me at Apex.
At 9, hold on a minute, darling. At 9:43 p.m. at the Princess Margaret Hospital, Mr. Bryan, his wife called him at 9:43 p.m. The wife said to Mr. Bryan, what's going on? Mr. Bryan said to his wife, no one, no doctor, nor any nurse has come to see me. I read the report that I bring back from Apex. At 10:25 p.m., the nurses at Princess Margaret Hospital with the doctor came out to the Bryan's family and say to them, Mr. Bryan has passed in dead. They turned to the family and said to the family, you have to do a post-mortem, an autopsy. They said, okay. The next morning, the family went back to Princess Margaret Hospital. The hospital going to say to the family members, you don't have to do an autopsy again because we just read the report. The same report that Washy
took to them earlier that evening, the previous
from
evening.
4:45 p.m. the evening before. What is some negligence in this?
A lot of negligence is there. A lot of negligence is there. And you see, because that test was a free test, that is a part of the reason why he waited so long at Apex. As it happened to me recently, you know. The other day I went there for a surgical clinic and I was the last person seen, you know. I was the last person seen, but I didn't quarrel. I just sat there and I waited to do my time. But there's a lot of negligence and a lot of lack of compassion and care at Princess Margaret right now. But I'm telling you that I've had mixed reactions on separate occasions. So it's an individual thing, but it generates on the whole hospital. Because Washy went and did his test. He should have been ambulated. That they did not ambulate him. That's the first error from the Princess Margaret Hospital. He should have been ambulated because I understand he had other complications, which meant he should have been ambulated. He should have been on his back. He shouldn't have been sitting up in a car. And I would imagine the reason why he took that risk to go on his own is because he wanted to get well. He knew some of what was happening and he wasn't going to wait on the hospital. They could have suggested to him otherwise to, you know, and ask him if he want to hire a private ambulance. You know, but none of them, they're not proactive like that to make that suggestion, or probably because of hospital policy, they didn't. But they knew the risk and they shouldn't have allowed him. They should have gotten an ambulance and taken him. Likewise, somebody said they could have flown him by helicopter. I mean, Washy's our councillor. Washy's a native of St. Thomas. They should have given him these better options.
They should ask for a medevac from the Jamaica Defense Force
Yes,
and medevac the man down
that's what they should
to
have done.
wherever.
That's what they should have done.
They have Pretty Road at St. Thomas now.
Well, yes.
Christopher Tufton should have 10 ambulance up there.
Why is it that Princess Margaret Hospital cannot maintain and reach the standard that it should be at as a hospital right now? What is lacking? The other day, I mean, one doctor was working, one doctor was on call. I took somebody there on a Saturday night, and before the doctor did his assessment, he was just doing triage. He says to me, "This is not an emergency. This is a clinical matter. No, you have not examined the patient. How do you come to determine whether it's clinical or not? This person is still recovering, and this is almost 2 weeks now, So
Dear
that's the
God
doctor I
Almighty,
reported.
no, sir. Mm-mm.
So I
Man,
argued with him. I'm like, how do you determine this is a clinical matter? I said, which clinic is open today? Sunday, it's like midnight now. Tell me which doctor's office and clinic is open when this person and patient is in pain.
No, sir. Mm-mm. Hold on here for me. I think I have a call coming in. Man, I have a call coming in. Hold on for me.
Okay.
Hello, caller. Welcome to the program.
Hello, Jeffrey. You're doing a good job. I'm so sorry for this lady with her husband.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, the health system in Jamaica is garbage. I'm so sorry for her. I'm giving her my sympathy. But I am hoping that all these politicians don't come to America for health services, because the health services in Jamaica is good and they can stay there and enjoy the health service, because they are suffering people. Jamaican people are so suffering left, right, and center because of wanted a good health system. And Tufton, I hope that him don't come to America for health services. Him stay right there in Jamaica. Also the Prime Minister and him family and all those politicians stay right there in Jamaica, because the health system down there is very good and people is dying for they are suffering for health system.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, thank you very much, Jeffrey. You're doing a good job. Have a good night.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for calling in. And I hope those who are in the diaspora who saying that Jamaica healthcare system is okay, I hope when they get sick, you can go down there. There are some so-called doctorate up here. I hope when you get sick, you can go down there too. I can behave myself tonight. I had to ask excuse when Mr. Clarke and Mrs. Bryan was on, because honestly, I felt it. It reminds me of something. I have to go away and wash my face and come back. And I feel it for Mrs. Bryan. Feel for Mrs. Bryan. Clarke, you still there with us?
Yeah, man, I'm here, man. Jeffrey, let me say
Yes.
something. Let me say something to you. You touched something I wanted to speak about earlier. The diaspora. I know everybody in the diaspora throw a stone behind them, and they come here once or twice or several times a year. And they are used to the international healthcare system. And I'm saying to the diaspora, you need to, one, invest in our healthcare system here. Two, you need to lobby the government of Jamaica for a better healthcare system, because guess what? Most of them still have family members here. One, two, they come here, as I say, and they may need some form of healthcare while they're here on vacation. Would you want to go into a situation as what Mr. Bryan faced or other persons are facing in Jamaica? And let me say this, to be politically correct, it's not the Princess Margaret Hospital alone is having these issues. Somebody that is a how you call it, health inspector called me and told me about 3 or 4 horror stories of their family members going to the Spanish Town Hospital and a similar situation. And in fact, one of them resulted in death. And I'm saying to you, they're saying that the healthcare system is good, but yet you see people sitting on benches for days. I had a church sister who was at the KPH in excruciating pain. And for days she was sitting in her chair. Days. You know what I mean? And it's because we know certain people, that's why she ended up getting a bed and was able to go on the ward and stuff like that. If you don't know nobody in a dog name your supper. But what is sad is that Councillor Bryan, former deputy mayor, is well known, but that was not meted out to him. And that is where I have a serious issue. And I heard you ask Mrs. Bryan if you know who the chairman was.
Mhm.
I needed to go and research and find out who the chairman is and what other seats he sits in. And you're going to be shocked to the seat of your pants when you find out who the chairman is.
Is the chairman a member of the Jamaica Labour Party council?
Yes.
A sitting council in St. Thomas?
Yes.
What kind of
And
shebang
he,
going on here? I have joining me right now my good friend Luke George Cook. Luke, welcome to the program.
Sounds conflicting, right?
It is
What
conflict.
what Mr. Clarke said is indeed true. It's quite conflicting.
Jeffrey, you know what he said? The seat that the person sitting now in the council was just occupied up to February 26th by the deceased former deputy mayor.
Okay.
Oh.
So I'm saying the person is the now the deputy mayor.
Yes, yes. I know. I know. I know. It's really a
And
shame and
that
tragic
that
how they
same
dealt with
person,
Washy.
that same person is the chairman for the hospital board.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
What kind of shebang going on in this country? Luke, welcome to the program, my good friend. How are you doing?
I'm
Look,
good,
be
Mr.
yourself.
Tavares. Just walked through the door and saw your message.
We're speaking about the horrific death of the former mayor of St. Thomas, and not to mention other Jamaicans who have this demised by the healthcare sector in this country.
The healthcare what?
The healthcare sector.
Is it a sector or is it a death sentence?
Yeah.
I'm not hearing it clearly, sir. Is that what you said, a death sentence?
Is it a health sector or a death sentence?
Boy, tell me some more about that now.
I mean, I was at KPH a couple nights ago, and I scarce and take it in. I pray to God that you know, I don't have to go back to KPH for any sort of treatment, because when I hear a woman said she lost her job because she took her mother there from 9:45 in the morning, and she was still there, and the mother had not been seen. And when I was leaving at 4 a.m. with the person that I took to the hospital, the person was not seen. We ended up having to go home and then go to a private doctor the following day. The person came home in wailing in pain, and I called a medical personnel at 4 o'clock in the morning, who said if the person can endure the pain, that they should stay, and that they would have seen them in the morning. So when you say a health sector, I am wondering what that means, because when I went around to speak to the doctor at KPH, I spoke to a female doctor who told me that they have 60 persons waiting to be seen, and that's 4 of them, and in between that time there are still the doctors who have to receive the gunshot wounds, the stabbings, and so forth, to to my sadness, as I was leaving, there was a young man brought in the back of a police jeep, dead. Uh, um, he was dead, and I mean, people pulled out their phones to take the pictures of this young man. Can't be more than about 25, 26, and that scared me because it's one of the few times that I would have said, "What happened to your humanity?" But I just love it because it's like everything now is an event, and instead of people help you, they pull out their phone. There was a fire I witnessed there a couple of days ago, and usually you would see your neighbors them carry them little water from out of them yard in a them bucket, in a them pan, and people were there videoing. But it's good to see that Christopher Tufton was treated like a king for the people that he's supposed to be working for, who cannot access or get the same sort of health care. Looked like he was in a private room at Andrews Memorial and was getting the best of care. Unfortunately, many Jamaicans can only hope for such a treatment, but that hope will never be fulfilled.
My God.
It's not my God. It's the fact that people don't have any shame. These are the same people who tell you that the country has never been in a better place. And it's not their fault. This has carried through from the PNP administration right into the JLP administration. I was at a meeting the other day where they're rolling out the 40 billion Spark project, and the caption of the program was road infrastructure through acceleration, sharing prosperity. Now, my question was that you build roads, it's good to have good infrastructure, but have you built a development plan surrounding the roads in the inner city, and who is going to come, because the United States have flagged these communities as places that people shouldn't go. So there won't be an outsource, there won't be a source outside of the community that is supporting the local businesses, because people read these advisory and they take it as the gospel. So you're building roads and you have to also call it the prosperity. Now, who in Jamaica is prosperous? Except the 1% and those in the parliament.
You know something, Lou? The healthcare system in our country, from Negril Point straight to Morant Point. Mrs. Bryan said something that stands out to me. She asks the people who's in charge of the Princess Margaret Hospital and Sarah on the health and the Ministry of Health, how can they be investigating themselves? Because they told her that they're going to investigate the death of her husband. And she turned and said to them, so how can you investigate yourself? Mark, you in a loop. Hold on there. The gentleman went to the Princess Margaret Hospital, and they said to him he has to go to Apex to get a CT scan done. The gentleman came back at 4:45. He went back on the ward with the result and everything. At 8:18 p.m., his wife called him, talking to him. He said to his wife, no one has come and seen me as yet. At 9:43 p.m., his wife called back and spoke to him. He said to his wife, no one has come and seen me as yet. At 10:25 p.m., the doctors and nurses at the hospital came out to Mr. Bryan's family and said that he has passed. And they must do an autopsy. The next morning, the family members went back to the hospital. They said to the family members, you don't have to do the autopsy again because we read the report and we know why he passed. You ever such nonsense in your life? It's that Luke George Cook.
You know, is a common practice, because I would have thought that having gone to study to become a doctor, and even the nurses usually would have ensured that if you send out a patient to do a scan, that they would ensure that by the time the man come back, the patient, it would have been read so that if you needed to start to treat him, because the reason why you send him out for go do the scan, one would want to reason that is because you want to know what it is that you start so that you can start a course of treatment. So obviously is a case where Mr. Bryan was treated like the rest of us. We not care, and you are saying to them, go do this, but you're also letting them know that nobody do it because him dead now. But what happened between the time when him come back and you had the results in your hand? So unfortunately, it described. I'm gonna tell you something. My condolence to the Bryan family, but how much more are we prepared to take? Because
Luke, you're very low.
but I'm hearing you clearly. Are you hearing me?
You're very low, man. I can hardly hear you unless boxing up in my ears.
Right. It's unfortunate what happened to the.
I'm gone from mute now. It is now 9:33 p.m. We're speaking to Mr. Luke George Cook and also Miss Jen. Is it? Sorry, is Miss Jen?
Yes, it's Jennifer. Yes.
Jennifer.
Jeffrey, can you hear me?
Much better now. Go ahead.
No, Jennifer and Jeffrey, let me tell you something. This has become acceptable, too easy. And I mean, it is so unfortunate that I would like to extend to the Bryan family my sincere condolences. Yeah, but you know, Jeffrey, may I tell you the truth? Right now, may I tell you right now, I just feel fed up, because it's like we talk, but people don't understand. It have to happen to you. You have to experience it, because I saw a young lady last week, Sunday, and she was telling me that she was hospitalized at the Kingston Public Hospital.
Sorry.
And she explained that the lady beside her died. And why did the lady die? And her daughter works at the Ministry of Health, by the way, from what the young lady said. But the mother was complaining that she needed to use a bedpan. And she said the lady was a little bit oversized. So once they put the pan, it sort of slipped out. So she was trying to go low and was coming off the bed, having called the nurses for assistance on several occasions. It is alleged, because I wasn't there. And she fell off the bed and hit her head. And as a result, I don't know if it's as a result, but she subsequently passed away. And a video is there in surface, and she said she had to literally beg them to come up, because they were coming to her bedside to tell her that she was the one who created the content and sent it out, and that she's liable to be sued. And she just felt her life was threatened, so she just asked them to discharge her, despite the fact that she did not get the full treatment and was very ill. So you hear these stories every day, and you wonder what the senior medical officers in these institutions are being paid for, what the consultants are being paid for. And why is it that we have become so brutish towards our own people. But the truth of the matter is that the health sector needs a resurf. It needs to be revamped, and people who are into emergency care must come and basically try to utilize it. 4 doctors, 60 patients, and the doctor tell me that the wait time, the time for assessment is 30 minutes. So just work out 60 people there, and if a gunshot wound come in, that is given precedent of a 87-year-old lady who is wailing in pain. It's just, it's heart-rending. Me I tell you, brother, it's heart-rending. That's why I'm not like going to public space no more. When you see how people are treated, it doesn't give you the sort of hope. What you see is apathy. Apathy is on the rise.
Wow. Jennifer, are you there with us?
Yes, I'm here. I'm listening.
Yes,
And
you're
while I listen, I just reflect on those experiences that I've had and I've seen people have too in the healthcare system. You know what helps, and it is sad, if you can afford private care, that is the only result you get, if you don't get treated well at a public level,
And
And not
and
everybody can afford that.
and some of us owe some extensive hospital bill, because if you go to the university hospital, for instance, Jennifer, to do a surgery, you know that apart from them billing you for the treatment and for performing the surgery, you have to purchase out of your own pocket any equipment that you need to have that
Yes,
surgery done.
yes. You know what? I had an incident at um University Hospital, and I was taking my son there, and for weeks they just clinic, clinic, clinic. 2 weeks time, 3 weeks time. We had to get an external consultation, and once I had that external consultation, I went to the next clinic. By
But
the clinic on Friday, by the Monday morning, we were in surgery.
what you have to say now is that most of the time, when you are experiencing these problems and you must do the surgery, it's the same people who are there in senior positions who you are recommended to. And when them start to quote the money, you just pray that the drunkard them come take your body.
Look here, you see, in this healthcare system, especially for me as a resident of St. Thomas, the only way you can get through is if you know the doctors, or you know somebody there.
If you don't know nobody in Jamaica, man, you're dead.
True.
You're dead upon arrival. If you
True.
can call two Vumvava and Vumvavi name, man, you're dead upon arrival. I was at KPH last year, and one of the worst thing is I heard a man crying out. This is a personal experience, for some water, and he was in agony. And I said to I said to one of the nurses, "You can't render some assistance. Can I give him some water?" She said, "No. Patient must give patient anything at all, because if anything happened to that patient, you can be liable." And I watched the man died within 2 hours beside me, and the next man beside me died. And I just said to them, "Look, it's time for me to go home. If I'm gonna die, let me go home and die." And it's the difference is that you will get a little better bedside manners at UWI, but just to be paying roughly $15,000 a day to be in the hospital and to use any medication and to have them to attend to you, the average Joe
Cannot afford it. You can't. How about going to the hospital at the emergency room and there's no nurse in triage for
None.
minutes and 2 minutes?
And at KPH, you have Cuban nurses that the language barrier becomes a problem.
Yes.
So you end up having to write. And if you can't read and write, then dog name your supper.
If you become ill and you're not able to read your own report or have some kind of medical inclination, you suffer.
Yeah, man. It is a sad state of affair. But you see, then you hear they talk about Bryan, Jamaica, and I'm saying where. Furthermore, your bed is hoist on two cardboard boxes. The bathrooms are the bathroom make you even more sick. And the cockroaches and flies are your best friends.
That's in KPH?
Yeah, man.
Oh, wow. Wow. But what is the government doing to improve upon these systems?
I don't think the government, in my estimation, demonstrate a care in the world. Again, um, they are they are mindfully aware of the untenable situation in which the Jamaican people are being treated, and you know you suffer. For instance, when them bring the food and they give you and you fast asleep and you wake up and it's cold and you say, "Do you have a microwave?" No. But if your family is supposed to go out and bring some, ensure them have to open it, taste it, and then they have to be given permission to take it to the ward. So people have to resort to paying a $500 a day to a porter or a janitor to go outside of the hospital to get you something. Or if you go to a clinic, Jennifer, in this facility, Amanda, they will sell a number. So you can go there and get number one if you are prepared to pay, because people have created lucrative businesses out of the the short experiences that the hospital are able to dish out to you. And if you go to some of these clinics and you talk like you have much sense. The doctor themselves will ask you if you study medicine. You
Yes,
can't
yes.
ask, you can't ask no question, and them a medicate you. And you say, so why you just a medicate me? I mean, know why you a medicate me. Sir, why did you come to the hospital? I mean,
A lot of these are junior doctors that,
well, at the junior them,
yes,
you have, and you can't fault them because the senior doctors have become God Almighty. They go to their private practices and tell them to call them if something happened.
right, right.
At 10 minutes difference could save Mr. Bryan life, but it wasn't done. And Mr. Bryan, unfortunately, will become another casualty in the scheme of things. So Bob did right. Many more will have to suffer. Many more
Many
will
more
have
will
to
have to
die.
die.
Don't ask me why. But if you ask Mr. Holness, his administration has done far better than every other administration. He's the best thing since Christ came off the cross, and they care about the poor. But I mean, this is the reality. A lot of people are going outside of Jamaica now to look healthcare, but
Yes,
it's those who can afford it who will
to
end up
those.
in
I
Miami,
agree.
or they will go to Cuba. But the average person, um, the average person will not have such a privilege. I saw an 87-year-old lady who the rains, just the couple of 2 days that the rains fell in Kingston, who literally have a roof coming down on her, and she's hypertensive and she can't take her medication because a cup soup she drink. She have to drink a cup soup because that is what is affordable to her. And when you ask, so what did the social worker at the hospital say? Because you don't say anybody come and take an assessment of the patient, because healthcare should not be about going and have a prognosis and then a treatment without asking you, will you be able to take your medication and become compliant for you to get better? So the situation is that it's a lot of talk and no care. Lots of talk and no care. I
Jeffrey.
would.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, Jeffrey. I don't earlier. You know what is sad about Mr. Bryan's situation? 24 hours.
Go ahead, Clarky.
I was saying to you that there's 4 doctors over there on call that are specialists, that are consultants. They're paid for 24-hour on-call service.
The legal number, the personal number. Yeah, that's true.
Yes. You know something, Johnny people, I may have to cut this program here. I do apologize, but there's something that come up that I may have to cut the program here. I was going to tell you all thanks for coming on. Clarke, you were saying something before I go? Hello?
None of them was calling.
No, I was saying to you that I may have to cut the program. I just want to say thanks to everyone that come on. Something come up that I have to go and deal with. So let me go deal with it, and I'll talk back to you guys. I want to say thank you all for coming on to the program. Luke, Jennifer, Miss Bryan, and Sir Clarke. Thank you both for coming on.
Have yourself a great night, and this discussion has to continue because we have to make a difference.
So Miss
Yes,
Bryan
indeed.
is related to Mr. Bryan.
That's his wife.
Oh, she's on the program.
She was on the
She
program.
was.
Oh, and interesting. You know what is interesting? Is Jennifer, right?
Yes, it is.
The permanent secretary last name is Bryan.
Oh.
All right. Thank you all for coming on.
Okay. Have yourselves a good night. It was a pleasure.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
When the game gets rough and this life just seems so tough, make we talk, my people, make we talk. When this town becomes an ugly place, don't let it erase the smile from your face. Make we talk, people, make we talk. Conversation is the key, a guiding light for you and me. Spark a talk and you will see. Conflict solver A to Z. World leaders master the art of self-defense just by talk. So people, make we talk. Hey, we're living in a world that on ourselves we must depend.